Hey everybody, the Book Dad here. Welcome back to the channel. And welcome to the new Book Dad look. Anybody notice anything different? That's right, I got a new bookshelf. Just as there comes a time in every book lover's life when you realize you have outgrown your bookshelves. And that time has happened many times in the Book Dad's life and in our family. And it came to be the time for us to buy a new bookshelf. So we went ahead and got one, and I switched out what I had behind me, the white IKEA gigantic solid bookshelf that we had back there, and swapped it for a new IKEA bookshelf. So I thought, hey, what better time than to do a bookshelf tour? I haven't done one of those yet, and so I thought this would be a great opportunity to highlight all of the new changes and then all the new books that I've got up there, because in the past, there's only a certain amount of camera space that is seen behind me, and so I had basically 4 shelves of that old bookshelf that were dedicated to my background, and there were still books on the rest of the shelves. They just weren't the kind of books that I normally would have behind me for the purposes of this channel. And so now I've got an entire bookshelf dedicated to nothing but the Book Dad. And the old bookshelf has now moved over into our living room to join its brother and sister. So we have 3 of those same giant IKEA bookshelves out there, that, by the way, are all completely filled. We had books on the floor that are waiting for a home. So we've got plenty of books that are not on camera. And besides those 3 in the living room, we also have another bookshelf right there to the side of the camera that you can't see. That's kind of a nice one that has some glass doors that are kind of cool. But yeah, so we've got 5. Let's see, yeah, 5 bookshelves now between me and Bookwife. Plus, each of the book kids have their own bookshelf as well. Now, for a grand total in our family, right? Well, not counting the kids, what they have on their bookshelves, but between all the other bookshelves that we have, we're probably getting close to, I don't know, 8 or maybe 900 books total in the house. It's a lot. It is a lot. We're definitely getting close to becoming a library. So yeah, I'm going to do a bookshelf tour for all of you today so that you can see everything that I have back on this shelf, because again, because of the parameters of kind of how I set things up, you can only see so many of the books at a time. I can't really frame the entire bookshelf, plus have me at the right distance. And the fact that I have to film in this corner of my bedroom, I wish I had my own dedicated office space or something to be able to expand a little bit more into. But these are the parameters that we're working with here at the Book Dad. So for all of you that are subscribers and have been with me for the last couple of months, you'll maybe notice the difference here. But now you'll get to see everything that's on that shelf. And quick caveat before I show it to you: the books that I have here are not all of the books that I own, of course. Like I said, we have all of those other bookshelves in other parts of the house. But it's a good representation of the types of books that I hope to highlight on this channel, which is mainly fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction, classical literature, and thrillers. So those are sort of the main genres, the main categories. Of course, I could have other things from time to time, depending on what strikes my fancy. But those are the main groups of books that you're going to see on there. And as we go through, I'll kind of describe that, oh, I have a bunch of these other books. They just don't fit on this shelf. And, so I'm not going to put all of my thrillers, like all of my Vince Flynn's and Tom Clancy's and that kind of stuff on there. I just don't have enough room, and I want to save space to highlight some other things. So this is more of a picture, a representation of all of the types of books that I love and that I want to share with you all. So without further ado, come join me. We're going on a tour. All right, so I thought for my bookshelf tour, we'll start at the top and work our way down. So on my top shelf here, we're starting off with some great books right here, with my Wheel of Time books, which I included the original cover that I had from 30 years ago that I still haven't read. And then, of course, I've got the new versions that have the totally super boring, plain covers. that are just basically so that I can read them. Hopefully, I'd like at some point to get all of the nice cover books with the Michael Whelan paintings on them and stuff. Those are really awesome. But for now, I've got these for once I start that series. And then from there, we've got a couple of Discworld books. My Discworld books, I don't have very many of them, and I actually haven't read either of these two. So right now I've read Mort and Going Postal. So I've got a lot more Discworld to read. Now this next set here, these are awesome. And I haven't talked really much about these, although I did include the fourth book in this series in my all-time fantasy top 10 list. But this is the Mortal Engines series. And you don't hear a lot about this on BookTube. It's kind of YA, sort of at the top edge of YA, I would say. But this is a series that is awesome. And as you can see, it's got these gigantic cities that are actually on tracks that move across the countryside and eat other cities. And there's airships, and it's got a real sort of steampunk vibe. And the cities fight each other and eat each other. And it's a really cool, interesting story, post-apocalyptic steampunk in England kind of story. So, and I love the whole series, but yeah, I included A Darkling Plane, the final book in the series, on my list of all-time favorites in the fantasy. You can check that out at this video. So, and I got to kind of move some of these out of the way so I can get some of these out. The next book here, from my fellow YouTubers, Rhett and Link. Yeah, right. That's like a fly thinking an elephant is his equal. No, that Rhett and Link wrote a book. It's kind of a fantasy sci-fi, a lot of Stranger Things vibes to it, kind of 80s kids running around on their bikes and having these weird, scary adventures. The Lost Causes of Bleak Creek. This is a really great book by Rhett and Link. So, yeah, check that out. Then we got Senlin Ascends. I just recently purchased this. Just kind of an example of, there you'll see throughout this bookshelf, a lot of just book ones and book twos of certain series, but not the entire series because I haven't bought it yet. But I really wanted to try this one. It puts off a lot of Labyrinth vibes to me. Just kind of like somebody who has to travel up various levels of a tower, fantasy book. Really cool, interesting idea. Of course, Red Rising. This is another series that I'm about to start soon. So I've got book one of that. Awesome. And then here, this book, S, by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst. Kind of a real interesting book here. A book within a book. Kind of meta, interesting sci-fi, fantasy kind of vibes. Now this one is, I included this on the books that I've had on my shelf for a long time and haven't read. So you can check out that video too on my channel. But another interesting book. And then Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm going to start that series pretty soon. I know Book Brother loves it. I'm going to start it soon. See if I love it too. And then we got my Stephen King collection here, which I don't have many. I haven't purchased a lot of Stephen King books, but I've got Fairy Tale. I've got my super old copy of The Eyes of the Dragon that I read when I was a teenager. Same copy right here. And then, of course, the Dark Tower series, which was just purchased by Bookwife for my birthday. It was a really cool gift. I've made it through book 4, Wizard and Glass, and soon we'll be starting Wolves of the Kala and continuing on from there. And then finally here we've got Boy's Life. Robert McCammon, a lot of people compare him to Stephen King, and I thought this book sounded really interesting, coming of age tale, and so we'll check that out pretty soon. All right, moving on to the next one. All right, now it's time for the world famous book dad Brander shelf. That's right, my entire shelf dedicated to Brandon Sanderson, my favorite author currently in the fantasy genre. So, and also I turned on the overhead light because my natural light is getting a little cloudy. So hopefully this will help you see things a little bit better. So when it comes to the Cosmere this basically everything on this shelf is Cosmere, the entire Cosmere, except for I've also got the Frugal Wizard's Handbook because it's one of those awesome special editions. So I couldn't keep it from the shelf. So starting off, of course, with some really old copies of Mistborn Era 1, classic. And then we got Mistborn Era 2, the Wax and Wane trilogy. Or actually, now it's not a trilogy, it's a quadrilogy, right? I really like these new paperback covers with the mist cloak and the skyscrapers. Those are always really cool. So yeah, we've got Era 2. Right now, Branderson is writing Era 3. Looking forward to that. And then I got a couple of pins, a couple of character pins. We've got Chris and Sixth of the Dusk. I haven't really been a huge collector of Cosmere paraphernalia over the years, but this one happened to come in a gift from the bookwife for Christmas. She got me one of those collector's boxes from Dragonsteel, and that came in that. And then Sixth of the Dusk, of course, came with the new special edition of Isles of the Emberdark. So I've got these two. I don't know, I might start collecting some of the more of the pins. Kind of cool. Isles of the Emberdark special edition bookmark. And then my World Hopper luggage tag. Also in that same box from the bookwife for Christmas. Thank you, bookwife. Awesome. And then, of course, Stormlight Archive, Brandon Sanderson's magnum opus. And I love, let me move some of these out of the way. I love the covers of these, right? Michael Whelan paintings. So beautiful, so awesome. Right, these are great. Now I've read the first 3 here, up through Oathbringer. That's where I am currently in the Cosmere. We've got Rhythm of War ahead, coming up pretty soon. I don't know if I'll start this by the end of this year, but definitely we'll read this by next year. Probably the beginning of next year is my guess right now. And then, of course, Wind and Truth. I got this in my latest book haul. You can check out that video. Looking forward to that, no matter what you all say. And these things are falling down here. And I'll probably get rid of that one once the paperback comes out, because I don't know about the rest of you book lovers out there, but I can't stand it when you've got a big disparity in between your different books of the same series. So we will rectify that as soon as possible. Okay, then we got, of course, Elantris, his first book in the Cosmere. And then Dawn Shard, Warbreaker, Arcanum Unbounded. And then I got this nice little Tress of the Emerald Sea teacup, just as it's described in the book. Pretty cool. And, of course, the book I'm referring to right here, Tress of the Emerald Sea. And now, when these books came out, move these here, the special editions, right? You had Tress of the Emerald Sea, the whole year of Sanderson, the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, the Sunlit Man, and now Isles of the Emberdark. I just cut this off of one of the packages to put up there, my little Dragonsteel logo. So yeah, but when these came out, the whole year of Sanderson thing, that was before my really diving into Brandon Sanderson. At that point, I had only read the first Mistborn book, and that was it. So now, of course, I'm much more well-versed in the Cosmere, and I love all of these special editions. They are so beautiful, and just a great addition to any Brander shelf. And so I wasn't around when these were put out, and so I didn't get to be part of that Kickstarter campaign, but after the fact, Bookwife bought them for me for Christmas. So thank you, Bookwife. Love you. And then, of course, Isles of the Emberdark I just recently got, since that just came out. You can check out my unboxing of this if you're interested, another video on this channel. So those are the special editions. I don't know if maybe someday I'll get some of the other leather-bound editions, because Mistborn has those. The Stormlight Archive first two books have those. Warbreaker and Elantris have leather-bound editions. I don't know. We'll see. They're expensive. I can only afford so much. So yeah, but I love Brandon Sanderson, so that's the Brander shelf. All right, moving on down to our next shelf. We'll start things off with another of my favorite fantasy books, fantasy stories of all time. My Bone complete cartoon epic in one volume. Bone is so good. This is on my list of top 10 fantasy books of all time. You should check it out. But I love Bone. This is all this is black and white, the original here. Now they've come out with some colored versions of this story, which are also really cool. But this is like the original version, how it was released. Love Bone. And then, of course, we've got the Prydain Chronicles. This is kind of an old, cheesy cover there, but the story is great. Prydain Chronicles by Lloyd Alexander. This has all 5 of the books in it, plus the Foundling and Other Tales of Prydain. So it's a 5-book series, and this is an older series written in the 1960s, and takes Welsh mythology and crafts it into this fantasy adventure story. A young farm boy who is actually an assistant pig keeper goes onto a great adventure and fights the evil forces that are taking over his land. And this was one of my favorite books as a kid. Love it. Got the whole series. Then we got Last Unicorn, another older fantasy book. Haven't read this one yet. I'm excited to try it. Very famous, of course. So I'll be looking at that soon. And then I got this little coaster. I actually got this at the Oklahoma City Comic Con. They had I can't remember the name of the vendor now, but they did all of this awesome woodwork for different things. So we got the poison for Cusco. Poison chosen especially to kill Cusco. Cusco's poison. Poison. So, love Emperor's New Groove. And then, of course, the crowning achievement of my entire bookshelf. One of my favorite fantasy stories of all time. Ever since I was a kid. The Never-Ending Story. And got this amazing folio edition. Folio Society edition of The Never-Ending Story. This is so awesome by Michael Ende. So I've got this set up in the primary spot on the bookshelf so you can always see it. What you don't wish for will always be beyond your reach. But this is just an amazing book. I love The Never-Ending Story so much. Bookwife gave this to me, and man, I was so happy. Just a amazing edition. If you haven't read The Never-Ending Story yet, get to it. What are you waiting for? It's amazing. You can see it's got 2 different color ink in there. Awesome. I love it. But yeah, this has try to find one of the illustrations. Got illustrations all throughout it. Just amazing. Love The Never-Ending Story. And this is the best copy I've ever seen of it. All right, continuing on, we've got this giant compendium of the Books of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. Another illustrated edition. This has all of the books in the series. Let me remove this part here. So I've read A Wizard of Earthsea, the first book in this series. There you got all the islands of Earthsea. But really cool. I love The Wizard of Earthsea. It was a really good book. So I'm looking forward to the rest of them. Now, in this section here, we've got several books that the beginnings of series that I haven't started yet, but that I know I want to read. So once I start to read them and buy the rest of the books in the series, again, because I only have so much limited space in this shelf, I'll probably just keep maybe like the first book or the first and the second, maybe, depending on how I want to arrange things. but we've got, John Gwynne, The Faithful and the Fallen series that I want to read. Lies of Locke Lamora, second book, Red Seas Under Red Skies, right? Scott Lynch's series that I want to read. So, Realm of the Elderlings, the first book, Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, the Farseer trilogy. So this, of course, one of the classics of all time. Everybody seems to love. So I know I will love it too. And then James Islington's The Shadow of What Was Lost, the Lycanius trilogy. So all of these books they're just examples of fantasy series that I want to start, and I will eventually. I'll get to all of these. But I have them here as examples of the stuff that I want to read. And then, of course, Lonesome Dove, maybe my favorite book of all time. Not sure, but it is definitely up there. Amazing book by Larry McMurtry. And then another book that I would like to read at some point, Ken Follett's The Pillars of the Earth, a historical fiction book. Everybody seems to also love this one. I think it sounds really interesting. Looks like it takes place over the course of like 100 or maybe hundreds of years. The story of a cathedral that's being constructed and all of the lives and things that go into that. Very interesting. So I'll probably be reading this pretty soon. And then, of course, no bookshelf would be complete for the Book Dad without Band of Brothers, my fellow brothers of the 101st Airborne. So when I was in the Army for 12 years, the majority of that time was spent in the 101st Airborne Division. And these are the guys that started that division back in World War II, when they were first starting to jump out of airplanes. Now, in the 101st, we don't jump out of airplanes anymore. We do it out of helicopters. But Band of Brothers, it's a great historical book on World War II and some of the greatest battles of Europe. Stephen E. Ambrose is one of the big names when it comes to writing about World War II, Band of Brothers. All right, let's move on to the next shelf. All right, on to the next shelf here. We've got, starting off with one of my favorite fantasy authors, Terry Brooks. We've got a couple of his series here, his Magic Kingdom of Landover novels, which is what these guys are right here, these first four. And then from there, we're moving on to the Shannara series, or Shannara. Sword of Shannara, the Elfstones, Wish Song of Shannara. His first trilogy is the only ones I've read in that series, but they are excellent. Yeah, sure, Sword of Shannara is a little bit Lord of the Ringsy, but it's a great book, and Elfstones and Wish Song are also excellent. Elfstones, spoiler alert, in my top 10 fantasy books of all time. So check out that video to see where that one falls. But then I've got his next series in Shannara in these four books, which I'm going to read at some point because I liked the original trilogy so much. And then going on to another one of my favorite authors, one of my favorite authors of all time, Michael Crichton, the king of the techno thriller. Michael Crichton's books are all about, let me push these back here, all about the dangers of science and technology. What can happen? What are the unintended consequences when you mess with things that you don't have full control over? Prescient advice for the world these days. I'd say my favorite books are probably Jurassic Park and Sphere. Those are my two favorite Crichton books, but they're all great. I love Michael Crichton. And then we've got the Silo trilogy by Hugh Howey. This is Wool, Shift, and Dust. This is an excellent science fiction post-apocalyptic series, which many of you may know from the TV series that has come out recently, I think on Apple Plus. I don't have Apple Plus, so I have not seen that yet. But the books are excellent. Wool, in my opinion, is the best. It's the first one. It's excellent. Shift is decent. It does a bit of a, it's a bit of a prequel. And then Dust goes back and finishes the story that started in Wool. But they're all great. It's a great trilogy. You should definitely read that. And then I've got a couple of nice leather-bound or faux leather-bound compilations here. The Foundation Trilogy by Isaac Asimov and Douglas Adams's The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. So this contains all of the books in the series. Don't panic. And this contains the trilogy, the 3 Foundation books, which I've read the first Foundation book, haven't read the other 2 yet. I wasn't a huge fan of Foundation, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. So I'm sure I'll continue on and finish the series to see what it's like. But I love The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I've read the whole series a couple of times, and it's been a long time, so I'll probably read it again sometime soon to remind myself about that. But this is sort of my science fiction section of the shelf. So we got Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? We've got Adrian Tchaikovsky, Children of Time. Very much looking forward to this one. This is a recent purchase of mine, so I'm looking forward to starting that series and seeing what all the hype about Adrian Tchaikovsky is about. We've got a couple other books here. Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary. Again, recently purchased this in my most recent book haul video. And I haven't read this yet, but I will soon. I've read The Martian and really loved that, so I'm sure I'll love this book too. Ready Player One. Read that several years back. I thought it was really good. It's basically a 1980s pop culture bonanza. And a lot of fun if you like 80s stuff. Ready Player 2, not so much. Didn't really like Ready Player 2, but Ready Player 1 is great. And then we've got Hyperion and Dune, another 2 science fiction classics, both of which I have not read yet. This is my original copy of Dune I bought all the way back when I was a teenager. So I still haven't read it, but I want to soon. And Hyperion is a little bit newer of a book, but still a classic everybody seems to love. So very much looking forward to getting into those. And then we got Robert Heinlein, Starship Troopers. I read that when I was probably in my early 20s, but I thought that was a pretty good book. All right, we're getting through this thing. We've got 2 shelves left. And here on the second shelf from the bottom, let's start off with my fancy J.R.R. Tolkien, Middle-earth, The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings books. These editions have some really great artwork. All the illustrations from Alan Lee. There's The Hobbit. We got Smaug on the back. And then, of course, The Lord of the Rings, Fellowship. Nice illustrations there. 2 towers. And then The Return of the King. Love The Lord of the Rings. Everybody knows this. This is the genesis of all modern fantasy. So no collection could be complete without it. It comes in this cool box here. Love this set. And then we've got my original copies all the way back from the early 1990s of Dragonlance, The Chronicles. Man, I loved these books when I was a kid. In my middle school, everybody was reading these, and I was like, what the heck are these books? Like, everybody has them. They look so awesome with these paintings on the covers. So I got into it too, and I mean, you can see these are well-worn copies here. I read these things so many times. And my Legends series, the books with the twins, Caramon and Raistlin. I don't know, it's been a long time since I read him. I can't remember the right pronunciation of his name. But yeah, love Dragonlance. I used to have so many more, but I don't know what happened to all those other copies. They probably ended up getting sold or something. And then, also, this is what I was talking about before. I've got my Tom Clancy books here. Vince Flynn, Jack Carr, all of the kind of CIA, spy, military, terrorist thriller type genre books. And I have more than these. Like, I have all of the Vince Flynn books and all of the Jack Carr books, except for I think the most recent one that came out, and at least all of the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan series books. But These are the ones that'll fit here on this portion of the shelf. If I had all of them, it would take up more than the whole shelf. So these are just sort of like an example to give some color and interest to the shelf. But love all that genre. Then over here, Life of Pi, excellent. Read this book, I don't know, probably 12 or so years ago. But very, very awesome book. You should read it. And then we kind of get into some of the examples of the classics that I like. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I love this book. It is so, so good. The original true crime book, written as if it were fiction, but this is all true. Truman Capote actually interviewed the actual criminals in jail, the actual perpetrators of the act that's portrayed in this book. And really just a beautiful writer. Love that book. And then Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. This is the PVR and Volokhonsky translation. Those two, that pair, are famous for translating all of the famous Russian literature recently. Well, I guess it's been several years now, but I love Crime and Punishment, an excellent story. And then I've got two books here by Tolstoy, War and Peace and Anna Karenina. Haven't read either of these yet, but we'll definitely get to it at some point because I love Dostoevsky, and I'm sure Tolstoy is awesome as well. And so those are two of the classics. You can see these are some chunkers, right? But two of the classics that I definitely want to get into. And then one of my favorite stories and books of all time, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is the Barnes & Noble kind of leather-bound edition. But man, this is just an amazing story. So good. If you haven't read The Count of Monte Cristo and you are interested in getting into more classics, get into this one because this feels like a modern story. It really has a ton of adventure. It moves quickly. It's not boring at all. It's just an amazing story. Love it. Well deserved in the pantheon of classics as being one of the best. And then my copy of Don Quixote. I haven't read this one yet either. This is one of the ones that has been on my shelf for a little while and need to get to. I did a video of that earlier. You can check that out here. Books that have been on my shelf for too long without having been read. But this is one of those that I definitely will get to. All right, we finally made it to the bottom shelf. This is the one you're never going to see in my videos because it's too low. But hey, there are still some important books down here, man. Like, let's not forget about these ones. We got some great books. Check it out. All of these graphic novels down here. Look at this. We've got Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, more Batman, the X-Men, Hellboy, and Superman. These are just several of the collections of graphic novels that I have that I like. I love The Killing Joke. This one is crazy. This is like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, back before there were cartoons and movies and all of that. And then, of course, Superman Red Sun. Have you guys ever heard of this one? This is an awesome story, maybe the best Superman story ever. This supposes that the Man of Steel, instead of landing in a Kansas cornfield, landed in Russia during the Soviet era. And so he's the hero of the Soviet Union, and he's on the bad side. So what would happen it's an alternate history version of the Superman story from the perspective of the commies. Interesting stuff. And then we've got a couple other little graphic novel versions of two of my favorite movies of all time of my childhood, The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. So a couple of versions of those, pretty cool. And then we've got here the original copy of the Book of Three, the first book in the Prydain Chronicles. This is the very book that was gifted to me by my grandmother back when I was a little kid. And this was the first fantasy story that I ever read on my own. This started the whole love of fantasy of the book dad. So that's the original book right there. A big sentimental place in my heart for this one. Then Of course, we got Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians. Some more Brandon Sanderson. This is his middle grade series. I read this to the kids a couple years ago. They loved it. For any of you that are looking for a good series to read to your kids at night before bed, Alcatraz versus the Evil Librarians is the way to go. Another potential option to read to your kids, if you want to damage them for life, Bridge to Terabithia. No, this is a great book. I love this book. I'm not sure. I'll have to, I don't know, maybe I need to read it again. It's been a really long time since I read it to see if this is like something I can get through reading to my kids, but very sad story, but awesome. I love this book. Then we got Madeline L'Engle, A Wrinkle in Time. Excellent. And then here we've got another young adult series, Bartimaeus. This is a trilogy that I've only read the first book, but I really loved it, and I need to get back to it. Probably need to reread it at this point because it was a while ago. But this was an awesome series. It was very hilarious. It's basically like magicians that can summon forth a demon to do their bidding, basically. And this demon, Bartimaeus, is the very sarcastic, kind of dry wit, kind of funny guy, demon that comes and helps out and does the bidding of a particular magician. And really cool story. So, yeah, I need to get back to those. Then we got a copy of The Midnight Library, another book I haven't read yet, but I'm interested in reading. And then continuing on, we've got some more comic books or graphic novel versions of Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck. The Scrooge McDuck, The Complete Life and Times, Volumes 1 and 2. These are the reprints by Don Rosa of the famous Carl Barks Scrooge comic books that were going on for decades and decades. But these are really good, surprisingly good. I really love these. Like, the artwork is amazing, and they're really funny, and they're great adventure stories. My son, the book son, he loves these. These are like, he's read them probably 5-6 times over, but they're great books. And then I've got another kind of showy sort of coffee table book, Guillermo del Toro, Cabinet of Curiosities. This is one of those books that just sort of shows all of the artwork and the different things that have gone into all of his crazy, fantastical movies. So, pretty cool stuff. And then, of course, I've got the giant illustrated editions of the Harry Potter series. These versions, the illustrated versions, illustrated by Jim Kay, they are awesome. So far, they've only come out with the first 5, as everything falls down, the first 5 books through Order of the Phoenix. Got 2 more to go, but these copies are beautiful. Love the artwork in these. Just great. You know, all kinds of great pictures. Really awesome. I've got the whole series, obviously, in the original hardcovers that about 1 billion other people have over in one of our other bookshelves. But collecting these big illustrated editions as well. And then the final book in the Book Dad bookshelf, Vincent van Gogh, my favorite artist of all time and my favorite painting of all time. On the cover there, The Starry Night. I love Vincent van Gogh. Quote here, "I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream." This is just an art book going through Van Gogh's life. Some of the different, from his paintings, telling the story behind them. Man, I love Vincent van Gogh. So beautiful. This is another present from Bookwife. And if you didn't notice, my shirt today is an homage to that. All right, let's see. That's the shelf. Well, that's the bookshelf tour. What'd you think? Did you guys like that? You see any books that you like in there? So, hey, if you liked this tour and if you like my videos and if you've been around here for a while, I appreciate it. If you're new, please like and subscribe. There's plenty of more video content out there of me talking about books, reviewing, recommending many of these books and others. But wait, it's not done yet. Just like Branderson, I have an extra secret. There's one shelf on this that you haven't seen yet. Come on, I'll show you. We didn't show you the very top shelf. Yep, there's some stuff up there too, everybody. Check it out. I've got my own version of the Labyrinth game. This is a Swedish game. Check it out. Awesome. I haven't been able to get the marble all the way through the Labyrinth yet. I can't remember which number I've gotten to, but I've gotten pretty far, probably about halfway. I need to bring that down and keep working on it. I love that. Ever since I saw the Labyrinth back in the 80s, I wanted one of those games and finally got one thanks to, yeah, you guessed it, Bookwife. She's the greatest. And then, yeah, I realize this is a booktube channel, but hey, I am also a huge sports fan. I know you didn't know that. I haven't talked about it at all yet, but I love college sports, especially college football and college basketball. And don't know if any of you guessed this yet, but I am a huge BYU fan. I love the Cougars. And I got this in a special box that I won this year, an actual BYU football helmet. Well, it's a replica, but it looks like an actual BYU helmet. Isn't that awesome? Woo, love it. And then, finally, the coup de grace of the entire bookshelf, the Lego Seinfeld set. Awesome. I love Seinfeld. It's the best TV show ever invented. And here is the Lego set. I just recently built this. Sorry if this is a little, I can't tell if this is out of focus. I'm kind of holding. I've used every single part of this tripod during the filming of this video. So we're in the experimental territory now, everybody. But we got all the characters in there. Jerry, George, Elaine, Cosmo Kramer, even Newman. Yep, I love it. Seinfeld. So, another little bonus for all of you as I set this down carefully. You saw I love that BYU helmet up there. I didn't show you this book. I moved past it, but I didn't say anything about it. Don't know if anybody noticed, but I also have an Arabic copy of the Book of Mormon. Look at that. Pretty cool, huh? Which I learned Arabic in the Army. That was part of my job. And so I have this copy here. Can you imagine reading that? It is not easy, I can tell you. I've never tried to read this whole thing, but I thought it was cool because I spoke Arabic pretty fluently at one point in my life. But it's been a while. I've forgotten a lot. But anyways, that is another cool addition here, another cool secret in the Book Dad bookshelf for all of you. So, that's it, everybody. Thanks for showing up for the book tour. Hope you enjoyed it. And, as always, don't forget to read to your kids every night. All right, see ya.